In 2013, Chinese leader Xi Jinping introduced the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, a massive globe-spanning infrastructure development initiative to connect Asia to Europe and Africa and increase Chinese dominance over the world. It consists of two main tradeways, the one across mainland Asia and the Maritime Road, a shipping route through the Indian Ocean and the Suez Canal. These two are scheduled to be completed on the 100th anniversary of the PRC. As of 2020, more than 68 countries and international organizations have signed deals with China. As part of the initiative together, these nations contribute 65% of the world population and 40% of global GDP. The new Silk Road will be built on the old trade routes, consisting of 5 so-called economic corridors, consisting of a new Eurasian land bridge, which runs from Western China to Europe through Kazakhstan and Russia. This corridor includes the Silk Road Railway and a 13,000-kilometer train. This is a train route connecting Madrid to China. The second is the CMREC, running through North China and Mongolia, connecting with the already existent Trans-Siberian Railroad. The third is a CCW AEC, running through Central Asia, Iran, Turkey, and into Europe. This corridor already has a pipeline from Turkmenistan to China. This also includes Almaty, the largest dry port in the world. And in the future, China hopes to extend railroads through Iran, Turkey, and Southeast Europe. The fourth corridor is CPEC, which many people already have heard of, in South Asia especially. CPEC runs through Pakistan and also through India, occupied India, or Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. According to China, this is crucial as it will diversify its energy supply routes by providing an alternative to the Indo-Pacific, which has a large American presence. However, it has drawn opposition from India since it violates India's sovereignty by taking advantage of occupied Kashmir. In Southeast Asia, another economic corridor has been established, passing through Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. China is financing many multi-billion-dollar railways, bridges, and pipelines in this region. There is also a proposed corridor passing through Myanmar, Bangladesh, and India. Obviously, India has boycotted the proposal. China claims that the Maritime Silk Road will modernize the ancient shipping passage. It will start in South China, wrap around Malaysia or the Thai Canal, and then flow through India and Sri Lanka and reach West Africa and end in Europe through the Suez Canal. This involves Balochistan's Gwadar port in Pakistan, Colombo ports in Sri Lanka, and the Piraeus port in Greece, and the Suez Canal economic zone. These are just a few of the projects in which are part of the plan. The two BRI routes are planned to meet in Venice, Italy. These plans won Italian endorsement of the program in March 2019. Since its introduction, China has extended the BRI across the globe. Russia and China have agreed to establish an ice Silk Road stretching around Siberia through the North Sea and down into Europe. Along this route, icebreaker ships will plow through the ever-shrinking Arctic ice and construct brand new Siberian ports. China also wants to cooperate with Russia in exploring and extracting Siberia's massive natural gas reserves. China and Russia also have interests in this area and hence have also collaborated to spread the BRI through the Arctic into Greenland. China has also implemented the BRI into the heart of Africa, where they are planning and constructing multiple railroads and ports, including a railway through Uganda and Kenya, along with ports and railroads all the way to Nigeria and Mauritania. They have constructed a $3.2 billion railway from Mombasa to Nairobi, Kenya. As of 2020, close to 50 other countries in Africa have signed agreements with China. China has also implemented the BRI to New Zealand and Indonesia, in which they are constructing railroads, dams, and other projects. Even Latin America has not been spared, nor has the Caribbean. In November 2017, Panama officially endorsed the BRI, and 18 of the 33 countries in Latin America joined the project. So far, 138. That's 138 out of 195 countries in the world have signed some sort of memorandum of understanding to join the project. This has caused alarms in many other nations. 138 out of 194 countries debt trapped? China presents the initiative as a good and peaceful strategy that will connect the world, which is peaceful for all, prosperous for all, and will increase GDP, fill infrastructure gaps, and improve economies. To get this message across to the world, China has propaganda programs supporting the initiative, and on May 9th, 2017, China Daily released a video of children from around the world singing out their gratitude for the BRI. Below the video, it clarifies that China Daily is funded by the Chinese government. Kind of strange, and this is propaganda at its finest. And they're pretty open about it. There's no secret. Despite China's propaganda, countries are warning the countries that are falling into these Chinese debt traps. This is not just about China taking over the world through influence. While the project could connect many countries, the nations would be integrated into the Chinese network, fortifying a reliance on Beijing that could be used as massive leverage, upsetting the world balance and giving China unprecedented control to carry out its not-so-secret, aggressive expansionist agenda. Currently, most funding is coming from China. And through Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, the Silk Road Fund, the China Development Bank, and the Export-Import Bank of China. Not only will countries have economic reliance, they could also end up with billions of dollars of debt, forcing them to surrender key strategic assets. In a recent example in Sri Lanka, in 2010, the small country borrowed hundreds of millions of dollars from China to construct the port, which ultimately failed in drawing enough traffic. Being in massive debt, the nation was forced to hand over the port to China along with 15,000 acres of land around it for 99 years. Can you imagine these events occurring all over the world? China could become a global empire through just debt trap diplomacy. This impending catastrophe is especially a nightmare for the United States, who is engaging in a geopolitical battle with China for influence and maintaining its leadership economically and militarily. China's various networks of trade routes also allows it to outmaneuver the United States' naval advantage to monitor China. It has the potential to fill infrastructure gaps, substantially improve trade, and enhance living conditions throughout the Western China and Central Asia. However, it may introduce an era of Chinese neo-colonialism and global supremacy. In addition, the project could seriously damage the environment and displace many native species. Now, in 2020, the coronavirus pandemic is threatening the initiative, and no major deals have been canceled, but there are problems. Construction is halted and economies are struggling. Governments may not be able to pay back their Chinese loans. In addition, Chinese workers that are building the projects have drawn immense resistance from locals who fear that they're spreading the virus there. And also there's a growing mistrust of Chinese government and its plans over the next few years. What happens is to be seen as countries are starting to understand the reality of the repercussions of the BRI and China's ethos as a country. It is not easy for countries to wrap their head around the actual threat that the BRI poses. The shift in power that China has created has been threatening for the West and the NATO alliance, led by the United States, a threat to the gang. Yet, let's take a look at this gang. Who is this gang? Democratic world, where information is not restricted, where people have the right to elect their government instead of a repressive regime in which people have absolutely no say whatsoever. Yet the Chinese threat was ignored until China recently started to make its moves, in which it became no secret and very clear about China's ambitions to openly have heavy influence in the world and surpass the West. Yet, as far as many neighboring countries are concerned, China has been failing in maintaining and fostering healthy diplomatic relations. In China's neighborhood, while Pakistan has virtually become China's servant, South Korea, Japan, Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, and the exiled population of Tibet, India, and Australia are angry at China for not respecting sovereignty. Thailand, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Laos, Cambodia, and India have also raised concerns about China's aggression of controlling the water supply through occupied Tibet. So the question is, should the good old gang of NATO and the rest of the world put up with China's debt trap diplomacy? Will it put up with China's aggressive maneuvers on influencing the world, taking control of the world, introducing Mandarin, like how they're doing in Nepal, and also introducing communism, and being the new foster parent for many countries in the world? Will the world sit back and watch as China spreads its influence all over and overseas many countries join the Beijing network? Or will the world of democratic countries come together to put a stop to China's expansionist ideals and ambitions? When a country is in a top spot of leadership, then they carry a certain responsibility of ensuring the betterment of the entire world. And although China is portraying this as such to the world, it is sheer propaganda, because in the end it is debt trapping those countries. It knows that these countries will never be able to pay back. So the question is, do the countries have the right to fall into this debt trap, and is it ethical? A lot of times companies around the world are sued, and there are laws in place for companies to not take advantage of the consumer, such as Europe. Europe is very well known to be a region where companies are prevented to the maximum extent to protect consumer exploitation. And this is exactly what China is doing. With the Belt and Road Initiative, it is nothing but exploiting these countries, and there's only a few ways to prevent that. The United States has definitely made efforts to try to curb this, but this will need a coordinated effort from many democratic countries to make sure that an expansionist ideology does not and is not allowed to make it to the top and bully other countries. Now, the second factor at play here is, should the world allow China, being the aggressive expansionist regime, communist regime that they are, to be the ones to debt trap these countries or create a network of influence? These are two different things. Debt trapping is one thing, but let's say there are countries that are able to pay China back. In that case, it's not about saving those countries, but the concern is still about the network that connects to Beijing and gives Beijing unprecedented control. And if we look at China's aggression and their behavior and their bullying and this is not just 2 or 3 countries that are saying this, because technically almost every other country has some border disputes. These are a majority of countries that are in China's neighborhood that have had a problem with China, have went to war with China, or is currently threatened by China, or whose water is controlled by China through the occupation and annexation of Tibet, through its glacial water reserves, which are the source of many of the world's rivers. So an irresponsible and aggressive country should never be allowed to carry out its selfish agenda because it has spoken for itself. Now the question remains that where does India fall into all this? Well, let's see. China is surrounding India currently with arming Pakistan with nukes on the northwest front, and on the northeast front, China is always giving beef to India. And on the south and in the east, China has also struck deals with Myanmar to establish its ports, its naval bases. And in Sri Lanka, we already talked about how they currently own that port for 100 years. All this is India's backyard. And India being a rising superpower, it will currently upset the balance of power between India and China. Imagine if India has naval bases in South Korea, North Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and all across China. That would definitely not play very well with China. So why is India sitting back and allowing this to happen? So this is very, very important for India as a superpower to be able to curb other countries' aggression towards it. So it is time for Indians to wake up and understand China's long-term goals and plans. This is not just about China's aggression on the Indian border in Kashmir, or should I say Ladakh. This is not about Sikkim. This is not about anything else or a single isolated event such as those skirmishes that went on and those mobilization of Chinese troops and Indian troops and the fist fighting. This is not about that. This is not about just China's control over Nepal and the communism that China has been pumping into Nepal. This is also about China's overall plan. This is a long-term plan. This is not today we're friends, tomorrow we're not, then again we're friends, or again we're cool, we'll do business together. This is not about that. So it's a very long-term strategy. It's very well thought out, and it's time for all the democratic countries to get together to put a stop to any expansionist regimes that do not respect sovereignty of other countries, do not respect the countries in general, and believe that they're the strongest in the world and only they deserve to bully others. This is unacceptable. This is very sad. Countries that are leaders in the world deserve to they have an active role to play in terms of being the responsible leader to other countries, to ensure prosperity for the entire world, to lead the world, to guide the world into a new era of prosperity. And although China is propagating this as their way of doing just that, in the end they're debt trapping these countries and also becoming incredibly powerful, and so that it can carry out its expansionist regime. So it's a cycle. This allows China to become more powerful so China can carry out more irresponsible things, which they have a track record for. So it's time for everybody to wake up. It's time for India to wake up. Nobody would allow this in their own backyard, so why is India allowing it in their backyard? So share it with friends, family, educate each other, and make sure you buy in India and support Indian companies, and do not support any companies of such kind of countries that that are against India and are like this and do not respect India. Also, understand that by buying Chinese goods in India, even though they're made in India, because that's a tactic Chinese companies are doing now, you are still supporting Beijing. All the profit is still going to China. So we need to understand these things and make sure that we support countries that support the people of India. For more videos, please subscribe to get the latest updates and hit like if you like this video. Jai Bharat.